Hey everyone, today I have for you guys another dupe video. I'm going to be showing you guys a $10 dupe for the Huda Beauty Mauve Obsessions palette. There actually is a dupe for each one of the Huda Beauty Obsessions palettes, but I only have the mauve one right now. So the dupe for the palette is the Bad Habit After Hours palette. So here are the palettes side by side. So the Huda Beauty palette is $27 and then the Bad Habit one is $10. So as far as packaging goes, as you can see, the packaging is a lot different. The Huda Beauty palette is a lot smaller than the After Hours palette. On the back though, it says that the net weight of the After Hours palette is 0.32 ounces and the Huda Beauty palette is 0.35 ounces. So both of the eyeshadow palettes have a mirror, but as you can see, the pan sizes are pretty much the same. So right now I'm wearing the After Hours palette on one eye and then the Huda Beauty Obsessions palette on the other. I am going to be showing you guys the tutorial on this look and comparing both of the shadows. But before we get into that, I'm going to show you guys side-by-side swatches of all of the shades from both of the palettes. So as you guys saw in these swatches, all of the shades are pretty much exactly the same. So now I'm going to show you guys how I created this eye look and show you really a comparison of both of the palettes on my eyes. So I'm going to be doing the After Hours palette on my right eye, and then I'm going to be doing the Huda Beauty Obsessions palette on my left eye. So my lids are already primed with concealer. So I'm first going in with the shade Powder Room from the After Hours palette. I'm just gonna clean off my brush and go in. Do these have shade names? So I've never actually used the Huda Beauty palette. I'm not sure if these have names on them or not. It doesn't look like it. I'm gonna go in with the matching shade from the Huda Beauty palette. I will say that the After Hours palette has just a little bit more kickback than the Huda Beauty palette, at least with that particular shade. So I want to use as many shades from both of the palettes as possible. I'm honestly going to try and use every single shade in this palette. So now I'm going to go in with the shade Lustful from the After Hours palette. Wow. Let me just show you guys. So as I'm dipping my brush into this palette, there's a lot of kickback from the matte shades so far, which really isn't a big deal. It's just, I might have a lot of fallout, so I'm just gonna tap off my brush. I'm using a Morphe E27 brush, and I'm just going to put this all throughout my crease as my transition shade. So the pigmentation is good. I'm just going in with a super light hand because I don't want to put too much color down too quickly. I'm going to kind of build this shade up. So now I'm going to be going in with the matching shade from the Huda Beauty palette. I feel like these have a little bit different of tones. So I just dipped my brush into the Huda Beauty palette, and as you can see, there's barely any kickback. The matte shades in here are just a little bit more firmly pressed. So even though these are supposed to be matching colors, I feel like they're definitely different. I feel like the one from the After Hours palette is a little bit more like brown, and the one from the Huda Beauty palette is definitely more of a mauve shade. Even though I had a lot more kickback from the After Hours palette, I have a lot more fallout on my face from the Huda Beauty side. So now I'm gonna go back into the After Hours palette and I'm gonna pick up the shade Flushed, and I'm going to put this into my crease. Now I'm going to pick up the same matching shade from the Huda Beauty palette. I feel like the Huda Beauty shadows are just a little bit easier to blend. Like I can blend them a little bit quicker. So next I'm going to go in with the shade Cabernet from the After Hours palette, and I'm going to kind of do the same thing. I'm going to place it on my outer corner and then slowly blend it just a tiny bit into my crease. It's always so hard for me to believe that these eyeshadow palettes are only $10. So I feel like the shade almost comes off a little bit different on the eyes once you start blending it out. It definitely looks more red in the pan, but on my eyes it looks more pink. Gonna do the same thing with the Huda Beauty shade. Wow, that's not as pigmented. So I think I'm just gonna have to build this one up a little bit more. I have a lot of fallout on the Huda Beauty side. I kind of feel like I'm placing this shade down and it just kind of blends away. So going back into the After Hours palette, I'm going to pick up the shade Hickey, and I'm going to put this on my outer corner just to deepen it up. So this shade has pretty good pigmentation. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with the matching shade from the Huda Beauty palette. So I feel like this shade is a little bit more pigmented than the one from the After Hours palette. I used less eyeshadow and it's darker. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in with the last matte shade from the After Hours palette, and it's called Wine Stain. And this is more of a brown, and I'm just going to put that on my outer corner as well. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the matching shade from the Huda Beauty palette. I feel like this shade from the Huda Beauty palette is a little bit more purple, and the one from the After Hours palette is just a little bit more brown. I have so much fallout on the Huda Beauty side, which is actually surprising me because there's not a lot of like fallout in the pan. So now I'm going to go in with all three of the shimmer shades from both of the palettes. I'm just going to use my finger. So I'm going to go in with the shade Clutch from the After Hours palette and put that on the inner third of my eye. It feels like super like buttery and soft, and it is very pigmented. So now I'm going to do the matching shade from the Huda Beauty palette. There's a lot of fallout on the After Hours palette side now. I feel like the shade from the After Hours palette is just a little bit more like chunky. So now I'm going to take the shade Eye Contact from the After Hours palette and just put this on like the middle part of my lid. I'm just going to kind of blend it in with that other shade. With this shade, I feel like the one from the Huda Beauty side is just a little bit more like metallic, but they're pretty much the same. Now I'm going to go with the last shade from the palette. Now I've used literally all 9 eyeshadows, and I'm going to put that on the outer third of my lid. This one is called Gossip. that one did have some fallout on the Huda Beauty side as well. So now that I've used like every single shade from both of the palettes, I think I'm just going to quickly do my lower lash line off camera, put on some mascara and some false lashes, and I will be right back. So now both eyes are done, and honestly, you can't even really tell a difference between the two eyes. I asked my husband what he thought about my eyeshadow and if he could tell the difference between both of my eyes, and he said the only thing that he could tell was different is that this eye, the Huda Beauty eye, is a little bit darker than the other side, which is true. I did feel like the Huda Beauty shadows were just a little bit more pigmented than the Bad Habit palette shadows, which I would definitely expect because it is more than double the price of the Bad Habit palette. So the matte shades from the After Hours palette were just a little bit less pigmented. There was a lot more kickback in the pan for the After Hours palette, but the matte shades from the Huda Beauty palette definitely had more fallout on my face. The After Hours shimmery shades though did have a little bit more fallout than the Huda Beauty shades. So overall, I think that this is seriously an amazing dupe for the Huda Beauty Obsessions palettes. So right now they're doing like a bundle deal where you buy all 4 of the versions of this palette. You get them for $30, so you can get all 4 versions of the Huda Beauty palette, basically the dupe versions, for the same price as one of these. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I am planning on doing some more dupe videos in the future. Before you leave, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I'm also doing a giveaway right now, and I'm actually giving away one of the Huda Beauty Mauve Obsessions palettes. So if you guys want to enter that, I will have a link in my description box below. And don't forget to hit the bell next to the subscribe button so you can receive notifications of when I post new videos. Thank you so much for watching.